Speaking of older adults, we are busting baby boomer myths with baby boomer advocate and author of the book, Facelifts, Money, and Prince Charming. Break baby boomer myths and live your best life. We have Joanie Marx. It's so nice to have you here on the show, Joanie. And tell me a little more about your book, though. What motivated you to actually write this?
Well, because as a Hollywood actress, you know, I felt like I was not getting any parts and that older people are becoming much less visible in our society. So instead of trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, I wrote this book because I was also motivated by a sorority sister who was widowed, and I said, how is your life coming? And she said, what new life? I haven't had a facelift. I don't have money to attract a suitor, so there's no Prince Charming in my life. So out of the research for my book is where the 7 baby boomer myths came, which were handed down by our grandparents to our parents to us, and you know, to the younger generations about how things are supposed to be.
What happens when the story of our life changes? How quickly do we adapt, if at all? For Joanie Marx, adapting to life changes has defined her multifaceted and successful career. She is not only a #1 best-selling author, Hollywood actress, and co-founder of a multi-million-dollar consumer product company, but Joanie is also one of the world's leading authorities on baby boomers. On this brief video, you will hear and see Joanie address the following topics during radio and television interviews: the origins of the 7 baby boomer myths, how to be present and listen to others, the invisible customer with all the money, how to refocus and renew your life, the myth of scarcity, the importance of self-worth, and the myth of aging.
Morning Coffee with Dan. Of course, you know we always bring you the great guests that do things like, well, stage, film, television, keynote speaking, author. That's a pretty good resume, Joanie Marx. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to speak with you and your audience today.
We're glad to have you. And, you know, I was reading a lot about you. Boy, we've done a whole bunch of stuff. But today we're going to focus on facelifts, money, and Prince Charming. That's your brand new book.
Yes, it is, and it acquired the #1 Amazon best-selling status.
Wow.
So I'm very pleased about that. I think that's because it's probably the first book that really talks about these baby boomer myths and how that affects everyone in their day-to-day life. And it really started, I would say, in the 1930s with Norman Rockwell. He did 323 covers for Saturday Evening Post.
Right.
And so what he did is he set up this fantasy of what middle America life should look like.
Like we all hope it would look like, huh?
Exactly. And so our parents bought into that, which taught that to us, and we've taught that to our adult children. So this book really covers the 3 generations and looks at these myths and how you really need to be your own Prince Charming.
How can you be a good listener?
Oh, this is a really good one I got from an acting teacher. She said, you have to listen for what it is you want to hear.
That's interesting. What if you never hear what you want to hear?
I know, but at least you're listening for it. So that kind of keeps you in the moment. And the other big thing that actors talk about, you have to be in the moment. So while you're on this coffee date, you cannot be, wow, I'm here, I'm having this conversation. Gosh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And, oh, they're not responding well to me. And, okay, you can say the words, you can be in the situation, you can critique what you're doing, or you can be the audience. But you cannot do all 3 at once. So the best thing to do is stay in the situation and give the other person a chance to blossom.
Baby boomers are the invisible customer with all the money.
That's right. That is right. Why do you believe many marketers haven't kind of woken up to the fact that this over 55 crowd is powerful and they really want to see themselves authentically in advertising?
I think part of that is that the people that in the advertising world are much younger. And so I think that affects it. I was just reading this thing about Harrison Ford today, who's now, in the new Star Wars movie, and said, yeah, it's 30 years later. He said, but I'm basically the same person. My bones haven't changed. Mm-hmm. So that's a man saying the same thing. Just because I look a little older on the outside doesn't change my joie de vivre. It doesn't change who I am.
So in the refocusing, you have to understand that your life is a journey, but it takes different paths. So in the refocusing, I think we need to talk about what is it that excites you. And so what I suggest in my seminars is you think about when you were 5 years old. What did you like to do? Because that's the essence of who you really are. What enjoyment did you find from things? What excited you? And if you ask any kid, they will tell you what they want to be when they grow up. It may be fantasiful, but they definitely know what they want to be. So everyone has that joy. So what we need to do is bring that out and see if that's part of how you want to renew your life and change it up and put more pizzazz in it if you're feeling less than enthusiastic.
It is.
It's the myth of scarcity, because this concept that there isn't enough of what I need to be happy, to be successful, to enjoy my life. There isn't enough of it, and people are competing for it, and I won't get it. This holds everyone back, because you need to think of that what there is in life is that there's really a great abundance. That there's abundance of exactly what you need. And that, when you think of that, it calms you down and it frees you to think about how it is you're going to achieve what you want.
Making friends, seeking out new friends, and being a good friend, it all has its roots in self-worth.
Yes, and that's one of the myths is that we grew up with. If you don't do what your parents said, your teacher said, you weren't good, you weren't worthy. It was like, you're not following the rules. And so promotion of self-worth, I don't think it ever was talked about.
No, that's a fairly new phenomenon.
Yes, and so I think that's better. So I think that the people that will be reading this book that are like your generation, who were raised by my generation,
right,
will see how you got where you are. Some things are better, but a lot of these 7 myths are still there because we raised you because that's what we knew. So this book is a little bit about 3 generations: the grandparents, the parents, and the adult children. But self-worth is huge.
Okay, so let's take the myth of aging. Our country is getting older and older, yet we become more and more fearful of aging, and it is not considered a nice thing. You don't ever want to be older. So that begs the question is, when were you ever young? And the answer to that is, I am younger today. You and I are younger today than we will ever be in any of our days to follow.
That's very true. Yes.
So we got to rejoice in the now. Now we are young. Now we are alive. Now's the only time we have.
With a gift for storytelling, along with humorous, thought-provoking, and inspiring insights for navigating life's ever-changing landscape, Joanie Marx is the ideal guest for your television program, radio show, or podcast. Book Joanie Marx for a candid and eye-opening interview today. Your audience will thank you for it. And be sure to learn more about Joanie by visiting joaniemarx.com.